So I know you guys have probably been wondering where I've been at for the past 9 months. Dang, dude. That's like almost a full pregnancy right there. There's a lot of bad stuff that happened to me over the summer of 2019. It's a very long story. In fact, it's such a long story I could make a whole video about it, which I probably am going to do even though I've been putting it off because it's just really embarrassing. I think it's very embarrassing, but you guys will probably find it a very juicy story, according to some people that I know. But I do have something to make up for it, and I know you guys are gonna love it. But that's actually gonna be for in the morning. I'm gonna go to bed. I've been tired. I have 5 videos already for you guys. I'm gonna be trying to upload at least every single week, but in the morning, I know you guys are gonna really like what I got to show you. So I'm gonna go to bed. I'll catch you guys in the morning. Oh, it's about that time. Let's see what I can wear for today. Here's a big reveal that I gotta show you guys. Yeah, I think this will work. Oh, alright. Oh, first I gotta get my keys. Sweet. Alright, you guys ready for this? Alright guys, and here it is, my 1972 Chevy Nova. But before I get started with today's video, I want to give you guys a little bit of a history of this car because I honestly had no idea this car was really popular. And let me tell you guys why it's actually really popular right now. So, to start out, the Chevy Nova was actually introduced as the Chevy 2 in 1960. In 1962, Chevy actually introduced a small subcompact car called the Chevy 2. And in 1969, they changed it to what we know today as the Nova. And it was also on Chevy's X platform, which back then had a lot of recalls for some reason. But despite all of those recalls, the Chevy Nova was considered to be one of the fastest muscle cars of its time. And the reason for that is because of its power to weight ratio. Because it was so small and lightweight, it actually weighs a lot less than my Eclipse, surprisingly, even though it's a lot of heavy sheet metal. When equipped with a high-performance V8 engine, such as the 350 or the 396, it was actually superior to other muscle cars of its era, including the Chevelle. Well, maybe not the big V8 Chevelle, but if it was equipped with the exact same engine as the Chevelle, it would actually probably beat it because of its lightweight. But back in the 1960s and 70s, the largest engine offered for this car was the 396 V8 engine. That is the biggest Chevy was going to go for it. I don't know why. I think they should have just dropped the 454 in it, just like the Chevelle. But then again, that would probably take the sales from the Chevelle. But because of how cheap the Nova was back then, nobody really predicted that it would skyrocket up in value. Because nowadays you can find them for over 20 grand, maybe even 30 if you find a really good low mileage example. This is what is really surprising about this car. Me and my friend actually found this car for less than $1,000. I mean, of course, it wasn't running. I had to put maybe an extra $200 to get it to run. But I got a classic vintage muscle car for less than $1,000, which is just insane. And because of its high performance and low weight, even though it was cheap, Chevy really did create a legend, because nowadays, every time I drive down the street, everybody recognizes the car. I mean, most of them think it's a Camaro and a Chevelle, but in reality, it's one of the coolest muscle cars of its era. Alright guys, but before I talk a little bit more about the Nova, I want to talk about exactly how I obtained the car. So my friend Sammy was a salesman for this company here in Lubbock. And one day they decided to go to Midland to sell a couple products over there. But while he was at the job, you know, selling these products, he came across the Nova parked in a driveway, and he asked the owner about it. You know, they were having a little bit of a chit chat back and forth, and to his surprise, he couldn't believe the price that she gave him, if that makes any sense. So he immediately took some photos, and he's like, bro, I gotta send this to Jose. So he sent them to me, and at the time, guys, I just ended my lease at the old house that you guys saw, and I moved back in with my parents. And I was trying really hard to save up some money to get a new place back here in Lubbock, because I just couldn't stand living with my parents anymore. Love you, Mom. Say hi to Mom, is an angel for me. But when Sammy sent me those photos, I just didn't hesitate at all, and I went straight to Midland, bro. Got a trailer and everything, and brought the car back to my parents' house. It was a 4-hour round trip, and it took a little bit to get that car on the trailer, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was dead, you know, it wasn't running. But when I got back, my parents were really, really mad at me that I got this car. You know, I was like, well, I just couldn't pass up the opportunity. I tried explaining to them that I just couldn't pass up this opportunity, and you know, they still, you know how parents are, bro. They're just like, you know, whatever you do, they're just not gonna agree with it, right? But that just gave me more motivation to try to get the car ready, or try to get the car running, actually. Try it again. Almost got it. So it took me about 2 weeks to get it to run. I couldn't figure out exactly what it was. I jacked it up, checked underneath, and I found out that the fuel lines were actually rotted out. So I ordered a couple of fuel lines for it, and then I got it to run. Finally, I got it to start. I was so happy, but at the same time, I was kind of disappointed because the carburetor was broken. All right, give it a little rev. Hell yeah, boy! But we still gotta fix the carburetor. So I ordered 2 rebuild kits twice, because the first time I rebuilt it, it broke. The second time I rebuilt it, it broke again. All right, guys, and right now, what I'm doing is I'm taking out the old gasket, because that way I can put the new gasket on. And then I'm gonna take the old gasket off of the actual carburetor. That way we won't have any more fluid leaks on the Nova. And the second time I said, you know what, screw it. I can't risk having the carburetor break on me whenever it's, you know, running on the highway or something, and then it catches on fire. So I decided to order a rebuild carburetor, because at the time, like I said, I was trying to save up for a new place, and I didn't really have a lot of money to fully buy a whole new carburetor for it. But to my surprise, actually, I'm not even surprised at this point, both of the rebuild carburetors broke as well. I guess if you rebuild the carburetor, there's gonna break on you, bro. It doesn't matter how many times you fix it or how good of a, you know, fix you do to it, they're just gonna break. Even the rebuilt ones from, you know, the major auto parts stores here in town. So then again, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna buy a whole new carburetor for it. But I did put this Edelbrock carburetor on it, which makes it, which I haven't really started it just yet, because I do have to change the oil, which is what I'm going to do today. But I added this Edelbrock carburetor. I also added new fuel lines, or fuel hoses. Also added this fuel pump down here. But also, I did get new spark plug wires, and I also got new AC Delco. And I also got new AC Delco spark plugs. So hopefully the ignition system is all set and done. But I don't know if I need a new distributor or not. I'm pretty sure I don't, because this looks
pretty recent. I mean, even though it's been sitting for a while.
And once I installed it, dude, it was it ran pretty good. It's before, you know, the old carburetor that I had on it, the Holley, it pulled weight. It pulled hard, bro. Like, I was like, oh shoot, this car is pretty quick. Damn, this car is pretty quick. But the one that it's got right now, it's, you know, not that bad. I think it's like 350 CFM, something like that. It doesn't make a lot of power. It's disappointing, but it was the cheapest new carburetor that I could afford at the time. I do plan on upgrading it and showing you guys the whole video on how to install one. It's actually not that hard, and it'd make for a pretty good video. But yeah, I installed the new carburetor and I got it to run. And then a couple weeks later, I saved up a little bit more money and I got a place here in Lubbock. It's not the greatest place, don't get me wrong. You know, it's just me and my dog. So I'm really happy with that. But now that I caught you guys up, let's get back to talking about the car. Alright, so the first thing I want to discuss on my car is the rusty quarter panels that it has. Obviously, as you can tell, the rust is eating it up all the way to the fender well right here. But that's actually not a bad thing, because you can actually get either regular quarter panels that you can buy and cut it out and just replace it, or another cheap option, which honestly I might be considered of doing because it's actually not too expensive to do, is just get some Bondo and just mold the rest of the fender on it. But the rust actually leads from the fender well right here all the way to the rear, almost to the rear of the bumper. And on the driver's side, it actually goes all the way to the rocker panel, which just makes it look really ugly, but it is fixable. You might have also noticed while looking at these rusty quarter panels that the Nova actually comes with these black Rager wheels. These are actually 14s, and they actually don't, I'm not gonna lie to you, they look pretty bad. They look kind of horrible, but I think we can actually make them look pretty nice because the outer lip is actually chrome, and if we paint the inside black, we can make it look pretty sweet. Alright guys, and another thing I want to discuss about the car while we're out here talking about the exterior is this hood. As you can see, it is not placed exactly where it's supposed to be. In fact, it's actually risen just a little bit, and it has this big panel gap right here. But that's not a big issue because it is fixable. I just gotta adjust it. But there is one problem with it. When I'm driving down the street, it actually tends to come up like this on the passenger side, even though on the driver's side it doesn't really. It stays closed for the most part. And I think the reason is because of this rust hole right here on the radiator frame. Okay, so now let's move on to the interior. As you guys can see, the seats and the dashboard on this car are actually not that bad. They're made of this leather vinyl type of material, which is actually pretty neat. But there is one problem, since this car has no AC and I live in Texas, so let's just say it's gonna be one hell of a summer this year. But the interior isn't perfect. For example, in the gauge cluster, the fuel gauge reads sometimes. So let me explain. Sometimes it reads it correctly, and other times it just doesn't work at all. And because of this, I don't know how much fuel I have, and obviously I've been stranded a couple times because of it. Also, the vent on the left-hand side of the car doesn't work at all. It blows air, but if you want to turn it off, it still blows air. And if you want to turn it on more, it still blows the same amount of air. Another thing that doesn't work is the radio and the RPMs, which is actually a really important thing if I want to know when I'm shifting, or if there's a problem with the engine, know exactly what RPMs it is. So having an RPM meter work is actually really important to this car. But on the driver's side door panel, it actually does not have the window crank. So in order for me to roll down this window, I have to take apart the actual door handle, place it on the door window crank, and roll down my window that way. Some people have told me, like, why don't you just put some vice grips on it, you know, that way they can stay in place and you can roll it down whenever you want. Well, to those people I tell you, nah, this is not a Honda, man, this is a muscle car. Another situation that I have to address with this car is the clutch. For example, when I press the clutch down, it makes this weird grinding noise. Honestly, I think it's a throwout bearing. It isn't too bad. That just means I have to take out the entire clutch to replace it. But if I'm gonna go ahead and do that, I might as well replace the entire, clutch and flywheel and stuff. And it also has a very hard time shifting into first gear. First, second, third, and fourth are actually all really hard to shift into, especially into reverse. And that is a female dog, bro, if you know what I mean. Alright guys, and with that being said, that's going to be the end of the video today. If you guys enjoyed, go ahead and click that like button, press that subscribe button if you haven't already, and go ahead and share this video, guys. Let people know what we're doing to the car to restore this car back to its original condition. I can't wait to show you guys. But other than that, I gotta run. I'm going to be driving off into the sunset. And with that being said, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.